Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, Ghana is one of Africa's fastest growing economies, so why are protesters so upset? Hello Ghana, you asked us to do this show, and here we are. Malika Blau is our digital producer. You're looking out for the live Ghanaian feedback. What are you seeing out there?
It is coming in live already and haven't
Right.
even started the show yet.
Right.
People have a lot to say, and we've also found that they're quite witty. So we asked them to describe the economic situation for them in their country, and we got responses that look something like this. This is from Ferdy on Twitter, who says, Ghana's living conditions under former President Kufuor, former President Mills, and current President Mahama. You see a rooster who's gradually losing all of its feathers. Not all of the tweets were tongue-in-cheek, though. This one is a little bit more serious. Barron shows a picture of a road using hashtag Ghana must work, saying that the roads need to be paved. Now, those are their perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. Tweet us your questions, your comments, wherever you are, with hashtag AJStream.
And also, this show is driven by you, so you can send us the stories that you're really passionate about, and maybe they'll end up on the stream. One of the ways you can actually get in touch with us is go to facebook.com/AJStream. You can scroll down here, you'll find plenty of places to put in your idea, and one day your idea might actually be in the stream.
Hi, I'm Yusuf Munair in Washington, D.C., and I'm in the stream.
Gateway to Africa, economic powerhouse, oasis of stability. All of these descriptions are of Ghana, but that's not quite how some citizens see their nation. Recent protests over the country's increasingly high costs of living and declining currency took off on July the 1st.
Things in life, water, health, energy, education, transportation. And the bad leadership has affected every part of it.
My business has dipped, the currency has depreciated, you can't even get it to buy, you can't pay our staff, you're thinking of laying off your staff.
So protesters want better governance and quick action to improve their day-to-day lives. President Mahama had this to say in response.
Every day we are bombarded with everything that is wrong with our nation, never with what we're doing right. It creates a national psyche that believes that no matter how we try or whatever we do, we cannot make our lives better.
Here to help us dig deeper into why thousands of Ghanaians have been protesting, we have Edward Amatetego. He's a blogger and entrepreneur who was part of the first mass protest outside the presidential building of Flagstaff House. Kate Nkasa Dwamina is editor-in-chief of Infobox Daily, that's a Ghanaian news organisation. And Samuel George is a spokesman for Ghana's Ministry of Communications. Great to have you all here in the stream. Edward, let me ask you, what has happened in the last year, the last 2 years, that's made you so upset you actually went out to protest in all places in Africa? Ghana, this economic powerhouse, this oasis of stability. What's happened to you?
Ghana indeed is an economic powerhouse. What I fear is now the country is in the wrong hands. The country is in the hands of incompetent leadership. In the last 6-7 months, the cedi has depreciated against the dollar from between 26 to 47%, depending on who you ask. But the real depreciation on the ground is more than 40%. This is what it means. It means that if you are a young man, if you invested $20,000 or $30,000 into a business, you are not likely going to get returns because the economy is so bad. There is no way you break even. Aside that, basic amenities that are needed by businesses like mine to survive are not there. As we speak right now, my office has no power. We are running on generators as we speak right now. I haven't gone through 3 continuous days without blackout, and I don't feel Ghana needs to go through that. I don't have water at home, and it frustrates me. And I want to ask the president whether in 2014 I need to go through all those things, because I pay my taxes as a good citizen. The question is, what is he doing as a president?
Okay, so let me give you a couple of examples here. I'm just looking at inflation that's 15% and going up in Ghana right now. So what does that actually mean? So January the 20th, January of last year. So gas, petrol petrol may have cost you about 50 cedis a litre, and then it goes up, in dollars, and then up to 99 cents a litre, so almost doubled in just over a year. What about your standard of living, Kate? How has that changed in the last year?
Well, in the last year, just to give you a background, I mean, we've had petrol hikes, we've had increases in the tariffs of our utility bills, and basically food prices have skyrocketed. So at the end of the day, you have less in your pocket than you did a year ago. And so it has affected me on the ground in terms of, your lifestyle and what you decide that you can do or can't do anymore.
What can you not do anymore, Kate?
I can't go out as much as I'd want to. I can't plan in terms of budgeting because prices increase every single day. If you go to the market in one day to buy groceries, the following day the prices have increased. And I'll give you an example with just plain tomatoes. Tomatoes have increased from 10 cedis for a bag of tomatoes to now 25 cedis when you go into the market. And that's within a short space of time. We're building in our house, and the price of cement now from 16 cedis has gone to 32 to 35 cedis. So I mean, it really does, place a huge impact on the decision-making process that you make on a day-to-day basis because prices aren't stable.
Well, Sam, I want to bring you in here because we heard Edward talk about the blackouts, and then we just got this tweet from Antwi who says, "We paid our electricity bills today, and we have lights out to prevent me from watching today's show, this stream, live." Other people are also sharing their stories. This is Ferdy showing the first used to be breakfast, and now it's the second. You can see an extensive spread there, plantains, fruit. The second one is a bowl, quite a difference. This last one is a comment on Facebook. Little Kumsu says, "It's really awful when you try checking the number of times the costs of items keep shooting up. We feel like we're being cheated." Sam, what do you think when you hear stories like these?
Government is very sensitive to the issues that are raised by its citizens because that's the duty of government. We've been elected into office to serve the needs and demands of our people. When you listen to the complaints that people raise, you work towards fixing the problems because that's what the role of government is. Take, for example, the issue of power. We have an installed power capacity generation, and this power generating capacity in the country of 2,800 megawatts and a peak demand of 2,000 megawatts.
What does that Sam, what does that actually mean? Does that mean that, twice a week I'm going to lose my power, 3 times a week I'm going to lose my power? What does all those megawatts mean?
It means that we have actually more power generated in our country today than the demand is. But then the problem we have is that we have huge distribution losses of about 30%. Okay, and that is one of the reasons why the president has just signed the Millennium Challenge Compact, the MCA2, in the United States, a $498 million US project, which is supposed to harmonize and bring a level of refreshness into our power distribution, to cut down our distribution losses. Because when it comes to power generation, on the 1st of July, when the demonstrators, the Occupy Flagstaff House demonstrations happened, we were having power cuts about, say, for 6 hours every 48 hours. Okay, right now the situation has improved dramatically. You have a 6-hour power cut in about, say, a week or 2 weeks. It's not ideal because we want to make sure that our lights are on 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. But then there has been a steady improvement. When you used to have a 6-hour cut in 48 hours, and now you have a 6-hour cut in 7 hours or in 7 days, or at times in 14 days, it does tell a story. Okay, I live in a residential area of Accra, like I'm sure my brothers do, in Achimota, and we have had our lights on. Our lights went off yesterday for 6 hours, but that's the first time they went off in 6 solid weeks. When it comes to the issues of tomatoes that Kay talks about,
I live in Achimota too. My lights go out. I live in Achimota too. Golf Park. My lights go out almost every 3 days. I don't know which part of Achimota you're talking about.
I live in Achimota. I live in near Achimota. My lights are on.
Sam, this might be because you're a government official, so your lights will stay on.
No. It's not like that in Ghana. You cannot determine You cannot, as a government official, I cannot determine the power schedules. And you see, the beauty of the
Maybe
issue
you're just
here
lucky.
is that the electricity company of Ghana does put out in the public dailies a power rationing schedule. So you know when your lights are going to go off, and you know when they're going to come back on.
They don't
So
stick
it's
to
not.
the
It's not. It's not.
All right, guess one at a time. Let me just.
not ever followed that schedule. Not even
Edward,
one.
Edward, I think you should please emphasize. Edward, I was quiet when you were
on,
speaking.
and then the next morning you're off.
all right, Edward and Sam. Sam, take a breath. Edward, start again. You can't hear you when you're talking over Sam.
Yes, it is true that the electricity company of Ghana put out a schedule, but what the authorities did not ensure is that the ECB needed somebody needed to ensure that the electricity company followed that schedule. They did not follow that schedule. Sometimes you may think you have power out in the morning of Tuesday. You wake up to realize that you have power, and in the evening when you expect to have power, you don't. So you can't actually plan based on the schedule that was put out there.
All right, let me just share something with you.
I have a question for Sam George.
I haven't been allowed to make my point, have I?
Make it quickly, Sam, because a lot of the
point.
community wanted to come in and jump in. Make it quickly. Go ahead.
Obviously, you see, so I'm glad that Edward has come back to the table to say that yes, the electricity company does put out schedules, because at first they said they weren't putting out schedules. Okay, they do put out schedules. It's once in a while you do have instances where the lights do not go off and on schedule. But then we do our best as government to ensure.
All right,
that
Sam,
people
hold that thought for a
positive.
moment, because I'm not going to spend the entire program talking about lights on and lights off in Ghana, because most of Africa are watching this going, yeah, we have power outages and power cuts as well. So moving things along, Malika.
Well, Femi, I will say that people online are saying it is reasons like that, lights on, lights off, that they took to the streets in the first class, and that these are largely middle class people. So Stephen on Twitter says, this has put pressure on the government. The country later saw nationwide demonstrations. We're seeing lots of things like this online. This is a Vine showing that demonstration. This is from July, where people are out in the streets. But there's pushback here, Kate. We got this tweet from Kenny who says, I think Ghanaians should be patient and support their leaders. I learned most public institutions have been privatized. This will pay off later. The president has also said something similar. Wait and see. What do you say when you hear that?
We've been waiting and seeing for the past 57 odd years. And so the question that we need to start asking is, how long do we have to wait to get things that are basic? I hate to go back to the electricity issue, but why do we have to accept or see it as acceptable to have power outages in 2014? It does not make sense.
I think we must be realistic
given
here.
What Sam George said, that you actually produce more electricity than we need in our country. So why should we have?
All right, so Kate, everybody's watching going, is this just about electricity? Are you just protesting because of electricity? Because
no.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of the other things that you hit the streets for. What else is it that you want from your government that they're not delivering?
Let me tell you.
I want accountability first.
As a citizen, as a businessman,
one at a time. Let Kate finish, and then Edward, I'll get you to come in as well. Kate, go ahead.
I want a government who is accountable, and I want a stable economy. If you don't have these two things, especially the stability in our economy, what happens is that you end up, not being able to plan. We have a budget deficit that is skyrocketing. We have issues in our wage bill. Our wage bill is what, 70% of government revenue right now.
Okay, Edward, what did you want to add?
Let me tell you now, the numbers don't add up, and anyone who knows economics knows this. Now, as we speak, our debt rate is 49% of GDP. This is what it means. Basically, in basic terms, it means that we actually have borrowed, or we owe more than we make.
All right, so Edward, I don't want to do an economics class in this show because we don't have time. What people do want who are watching internationally is what is it that protesters actually want? There's something I'm going to show you, and then you can come back.
Here? Can I come in? Can I come in here?
Sure, go ahead, Sam.
You see, the point we need to understand here, and let me correct the figure. Our wage bill is actually just about 56% of our revenue. But then that is extremely high because the West African average is 35%. Now you ask yourself, Is it a wrong thing
you don't get,
the government is
Sam,
paying?
you're
Is it a
competing
wrong
with
thing
the
the
rest of West
government
Africa.
is paying?
Nobody does
Is
that.
it a wrong
You
thing?
don't
No,
compete
Edward,
with
Edward,
the
wait
rest
until
of
Sam
West
takes a
Africa.
breath.
So
Sam,
compete
finish up.
with the rest
Edward,
of the
hold
world.
tight
So
for a
stop
moment.
saying West Africa. Sam, stop comparing Ghana.
Femi, I would appreciate it.
Edward,
if you'll be
hold
able to
tight for a
moderate the
moment.
show.
Edward, otherwise we can't have a
time-
discussion. We're just yelling at each other, and that's really not very
Every single
productive.
time
Just hold tight for a moment. I will come back to you.
submission. Every single time I start making my submission, he jumps in.
All right, and Sam, you're not making submission. We're just talking to each other. Finish up very quickly. Make a quick
You
point.
should allow me make my point.
Go ahead.
The point I'm making is very simply put here, that it is not a crime of the Ghanaian government that it is paying its workers the kinds of salaries it's paying.
All right,
in 2008,
point made.
when the opposition government took over in 2008. They were paying 3 billion Ghana cedis.
All right, Sam,
this year,
I hear your point. I hear your point. You make it. Kate, hold tight for a moment. Edward, now everybody's quiet unless you're called Edward. Edward, please go ahead.
Now, I need to ask Sam a question. Sam, do you have a watch by you? Can you tell me what time it is right now?
It's about 12 minutes to 8.
Good. We are about 12 minutes to 8 on the 6th of August 2014. As Kate said, we are not we are not 4 decades ago. We are not in 1950. Ghanaians should not be sleeping in the darkness. That's one. Ghanaians should not be dying.
Are we going back to the electricity problem? I thought we were moving on to another issue. I think you're flogging the dead horse. Government has improved.
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you just to put a pause on this for a moment because I want to get the community in. Kate, just hold tight for a moment because I'm going to share this conversation with the community as well. Malika, what do they want to add?
It's interesting. They have moved this conversation on, and now they're talking about corruption. Kofi sums this up. He says, we were the toast of the world as an economic growth success story 10 years ago. Today, we're the poster boy for a bad economy. Now, others are pointing the blame at things like this. This is a picture that Ronald tweeted us, an envelope full of money. We need either less corruption or more chances to participate in it. Others have also pointed to corruption. This is on Facebook. Tasha says, it's unfortunate how this country, celebrated as one of the fastest growing economies a couple of years ago, fell so fast. What do you say to claims of corruption, Sam?
This is you see it's easy to assume perceptions of corruption as corruption. As we speak at the moment, one of the major issues of corruption in our country is a program that is supposed to lead to youth entrepreneurship, which is called JIDA. There were allegations of corruption in the JIDA program. As we speak, a member of parliament on the side of government, in the majority in the parliament of Ghana, is being prosecuted over allegations of corruption. If the president is prosecuting members of his own party, a sitting member of parliament, what more kind of action are we expecting? The president does not have the power to jail people. Right. He can only act as Attorney General to send people to court.
All right.
You see, let's understand something.
Sam, I'm just going to ask you
one point on the economy. One point on the economy quickly. Yeah. People have said 10 years ago that Ghana's economy was a shining star. That is incorrect. 10 years ago, we're coming out of a HIPIC initiative. What people have said 4 years ago was that Ghana was a rising star. Ghana was the fastest growing economy in the world 2 years ago.
Okay.
This year, Ghana is growing at 7.1%, as per the World Bank's own figures. The World Bank says the economy of Ghana is growing at 7.1. The United States is growing at 0.2%.
All right, Sam, I'm just going to ask you to hold tight for a moment. Kate, jump in. Go ahead.
Yes, Sam, the economy of the country cannot be growing if the person on the street is feeling the pinch. If you're talking about fiscal, or you're talking about policies, I mean, you're talking about statistics that doesn't resonate with the people on the ground. Inflation 10 years ago was 5%.
With people on the ground. Infobox was not a company 3 years or 4 years ago.
Kate, listen to you. I'm going to ask you to listen to Kate just for a moment. Kate, go ahead.
Sam George, you're talking about 7% growth, and if the growth is, curtailed by the inflation that we experience daily, then it's not growth in real terms.
All right, I'm going to stop this for just a second. Everybody just hold tight for a moment. I'm just thinking about our audience. Sam, hold tight for a moment. I'm just thinking about our audience who watch this. We're trying to think about what it is that the protesters actually want. And from listening to you actually debate right now, I'm not sure it's that clear, but we did actually go to your change.org site, and this is the petition that actually went to the president, and it said responsible governance for a happy people now. There's a whole list of demands. Let me show you them. They're 1 till 20, and we can actually go through and look at some of them. So there's the depreciating value of the CD, very poor road networks, frequent increase in the price of petrol, government's inability to access labour-related issues on a timely basis. This shopping list goes on and on and on. These are unhappy people, unhappy Ghanaian citizens. Sam, as we continue to look through these lists of demands, how is the government actually responding?
Let me take, for example, the complaint about the increases in fuel prices. Government is we are social democratic government, and the masses are our constituency. And so we focus our subsidy regimes and intervention, social policy to target the majority of the masses. Every 2 weeks, the government of Ghana was spending 84 million Ghana cedis, which equates to about 26 million US dollars on subsidies for petroleum every 2 weeks in a country like Ghana.
And how's that working out, Sam?
That is not right. That's not right. That's why we scrapped that subsidy.
All right.
And we're saying those who can afford to buy a 4x4 vehicle, a four-wheel vehicle, should be able to buy their own fuel. Those who cannot afford to buy their own vehicles and will use public transport, the Metro Mass Transport System, which is the public transport system run by the government of Ghana, the fares have not gone up. We have not increased the prices. Those prices are fixed to ensure that the subsidy regime goes to those who really need the subsidies. We cannot have a situation where the government is going to take the taxes of the ordinary man on the streets and use it to create a cushion of subsidies.
All right, so I'm still trying to get some clarity here about how the government is responding to these protests, which are kind of unusual for Ghana. How else are you responding to the protesters?
Well, these are not unusual. You see, we must get this straight. Ghana has a culture of demonstrations, and actually, if you want to go back into the history of Ghana,
all right.
Look at
so now, Sam, it's taking me on a detour. Sam, we don't have time for this detour. How are you responding to the protesters, Sam?
We are addressing the issues that protesters have raised are issues which have been addressed and issues which are being addressed.
All right.
The increases in tariffs, for example, light and water, utilities, electricity and water. These are increases that were agreed between government and Labour over 12 months ago. And Labour came out with its roadmap for government to stagger the increases over 4 different quarters. Government is implementing Labour's own agreed price increase. So if Labour has agreed with government that you should increase prices, government wanted to do it in one lump sum, and Labour says, no, let's do it in 4 tranches, and government is doing it in 4 tranches, how can government be said to be insensitive?
Malika? We'll give us a couple of ending tweets. We're getting about 30 tweets per minute because people are responding to this, and I will say some are saying that they're confused and they're not learning a whole lot from the two sides. So Robbie tweets in, people need to stop moaning about the economy and be more objective. On the other hand, though, we have a tweet from Ronita who says the government should realize the frustration and the dissatisfaction of the people of Ghana, and the government should act and not defend.
Let me just show you a tweet here from President Mahama. And President Mahama said, the darkest hour is before the break of a new dawn. We would begin to see the effects of economic recovery by the end of 2014. That's not that far away. Kate, are you feeling optimistic?
No, I'm not. If it's anything to go by, it looks like we're going in for an IMF bailout. And if you look at what has happened in the past, then I think it's a good indication of what might happen in the future. It has implications for our economy and also politically as well.
Right.
If we're going to go for an IMF bailout, what will happen is that we're going to have to adhere to some of the conditions that the IMF will put on our country.
Okay.
And that means fiscal discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But can we afford to do that in our economy where the majority of people are unemployed? Can we afford to lay people off?
All right.
I think
So,
that
Kate, hold you there for a moment. This is Kate Nkasa-Dwamena. She's one of our guests on today's stream. We have Samuel George and Edward Amate-Tego. If you're not clear about what they're debating about, I have a solution. Stream.aljazeera.com, #AJStream. Tweet them. I will make them answer your questions in the post show. So don't go away. Meanwhile, let me tell you about our next AJ Stream. We'll look at Sweden's plans to remove all mentions of race from Swedish law. How do you tackle racism if the law doesn't even mention race? That debate on the next AJ Stream. Until then, see you online. Take care. Hello again, this is the post show where we're going to pick right back up on our conversation about why people are protesting in Ghana. So we've got Edward and Kate and Sam here. So I have an assignment for you, Edward and Kate and Sam. People watched for half an hour and they had no idea what you were really debating about. So here's my assignment. Our community have very specific questions for you and they're going to see if maybe we can help clarify what's going on, because we love to do that on the stream. Malika.
Well, Femi, I'll start off the specific questions with this specific tweet from Mel Ahmed, who writes, I think you guys are not making any sense. You're just making noise. So we want to cut through that noise with an answer to this. And Yomi writes in, it is true that Ghana is going through hard times, but not as bad as what's been described by some people. Let's be frank with ourselves. So Kate, and being frank with ourselves, as this person says, do you agree? It's not really as bad as it could be?
If you put it, everything is relative. So if you're comparing to what's happening in the rest of the world, some of us might think that it's not as bad. But if you're living in this country and this is all you know, and things have gotten from one state to another and it's like worsening, obviously you're going to complain. There are things that are happening on a day-to-day basis that makes us feel and makes us believe that things aren't going well. Lack of prioritization of our government in terms of their spending is one of it. If we're being told that we need to tighten our belts and we see our government doing otherwise, surely people are going to be up in arms about it. And they're going to be very, not happy about what is going on. And that's what's happening. Our MPs are being, given, they're 275 MPs and they're being paid a gross amount of money. And they're still getting other things for free, whereas the average man on the street doesn't have that cushion. So if we're saying our leaders need to, I think that our leaders need to lead by example, and they're not doing that.
All right.
You tell us tighten our belts, and we're not, and we're doing it.
Can I come in here?
But we're seeing you doing something else.
All right, Kate, let Sam respond. Sam, go ahead.
You see, I think that people, the person who tweeted in and said that people are not being real with the issues is actually telling you exactly what's the issue on the ground. Because when people say that, when people paint a picture of Ghana as a country on the brink of collapse, that's completely incorrect. The rest of West Africa is growing at a rate of 4.2%, and the economy of Ghana is growing at 7.1%. Most of that growth is driven on the back of agriculture, because our agriculture is growing at a rate of 120% as compared to last year, same time. It tells you that, look, something positive is going on in this economy.
All right, so if I'm watching...
Very high expectations.
So Sam...
This is 46.1 billion CDs.
All right, so guys, remember that we're actually watching from around the whole world here, so let's not be trading too many figures. But if I'm watching this show and I'm thinking, wow, Sam is telling us how great Ghana's growth is going, why are people finding goods more and more expensive? Let's be real here, Sam. Why is that happening?
Because this is not something that's peculiar to Ghana. I know you have a global audience.
Sure.
There's no country in the world where prices are dropping. Okay, prices increase everywhere in the world, and Ghana is not different. Okay, look, between 2009 and 2012. The Ghanaian cedi was extremely stable against the US dollar. It actually depreciated over a 3-year period by only 8%. In 3 years. Now that is something which you don't see in Ghana, okay, over the past 20 years. Now why people forget or people are unaware that at that point in time, the Ghanaian government had, under the late President Mills, had gone in for an IMF program. Ghana is opening negotiations with the IMF on our economy, not because our economy is in crisis or not because we're collapsing as an economy. No, we're entering into this negotiations because we need to build a certain level of confidence around our economy. Our major earners as a country, which is gold and cocoa, have had their prices drop. My sister Kate talks about MPs. You see, it's unfair when the people in the Occupy movement want to blame central government for everything. There's a principle called the separation of powers. The executive, which is government.
All right, so Sam, let me ask you just this very quickly so I can make the most of your time on the show. So what is government responsible for in Ghana? Would you go, okay, yes, hands up, we need to do better at this? What is that?
Our president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is the first person to tell you that we have challenges in the country. Nobody's running away from the fact that we have challenges. When government is not earning as much as it used to from its exports, because prices of gold and cocoa are falling on the international market, when Ghanaians have built a largely foreign taste, where we spent 1.5 billion US dollars in the importation of only rice, sugar, and poultry products last year. Only last year.
So Sam, it's really difficult to get this through to you, because it's very difficult to talk to you, because you really speak really well, but you never answer anything very directly. So what is the government saying? We do need to work harder at this, because time is we have a time crunch here. So I don't have time to do the entire history.
Ghanaians to do. What the president is asking Ghanaians to do is, look, we have made sacrifices for a long while. The rewards of our sacrifices are just around the corner. Let's keep faith in our country. Let's not burn this country down.
All right, Sam's not going to answer that particular question, so let's move on. Sam, just hold tight for a moment so we can get more questions in from... And Sam was also smiling there. I saw him out of the corner of my eye. He's like, I am not answering this question. I'm not going to tell you on Al Jazeera Live what the government could be doing better at. So... you were busted, Sam, right there. Meanwhile, Malika, go ahead.
I want to bring Edward back in here with this tweet that we just got from Jabdullah, who says, this AJ stream on Ghana perfectly depicts the current relationship between the government leaders and the citizens. They don't listen and they don't hear us. Edward, now the president has come out on Twitter and other places saying we are listening, we are making sacrifices. Do those things not resonate with you? Do you not believe them?
So, just to give you a background about our president, he's a good orator, he's a good communicator, so he knows his way around, reaching out to the people, and I give him a lot of respect for that. However, beyond that, it's not just about speech, it's not just about flowery words, it's about action as well. And you made a very good observation when you said some but doesn't directly answer questions, and that's what most government communicators do. They don't deal with the questions on the ground. What they do is they throw figures and facts at you. But as Kate mentioned, in the end, for me, as the ordinary Ghanaian on the street, it's about whether I can afford food on the street with the amount of money in my pocket. That's all. That's all it boils down to. And you asked earlier on what my requests were as a citizen. And I just have 4 requests. One is I wish the city could be stabilized. I wish the city could go back to 1 cedi to $1. Now, I need 3.6 or 3.5 cedis to buy just $1. It wasn't the case then. I want the power crisis to be over. I want to wake up and not worry about whether or not I would have light in the evening, because I need water and light to work.
All right, Edward, are you hopeful that this is going to happen? Do you feel that the process that started on social media and then spilled out onto the street, do you feel that that is a very proactive way of maybe engaging with your government and getting change?
Well, getting the momentum from social media and moving offline probably helped a lot, because it helped us get some international media, which puts a lot of pressure on government. I must be one of the first people to admit that, yes, I wish that more people had come up on the day. But the amount of impact we made on social media and the amount of impact we made on the day today has opened the doors for a lot more protests to come up.
Right.
Some judge will affect the fact that in the last 2-3 weeks, there's been more than 8 to 9 different protests going on, and that has probably never happened in Ghana before.
Sure. All right. And then, so you're feeling that there's something very tangible that's come out of these protests. For you, Sam, what's the most tangible thing that what's your takeaway from the protests?
You see, from the most important thing I took away from the protest, and I was present at the protest, the 1st July protest. I went there to speak to many of my friends who were part of the Occupy Flagstaff House movement. The most important thing I took away from it is the fact that the people of Ghana are sensitive to the issues that affect them daily, and they want to have their voice heard. And I appreciate that, and I think that that's a wonderful thing for democracy, that the citizens can engage government and speak their minds freely without fear of intimidation. That's one thing that Ghana has always been prided for. But the most important thing, which as I've taken that away as a member of government, that I want the demonstrators also, the citizenry, to take away, is the fact that you must understand that governance is not a black and white process. It's not just black and white. That's why you say I don't answer your questions, because it's not straightforward.
You're not answering my questions, just give me a heart attack. More grey hair.
Governance the issue with governance here, Femi, is the fact that, take for example, when you talk about fixing the water problem in Accra, it's not something that can just be fixed with a snap of a finger.
All right. So basically you're saying it's really, really hard.
It takes 3 to 4 years. It takes 3 to 4 years for the projects we have started to be completed. So as we speak at the moment, the water project for Greater Accra region, which is the capital, it was started in 2010, but it will be finished in June of 2015. Then we will have solutions to problems. And so we've raised our issues. We should have patience and believe in our government. Believe is key. That's all we're asking for.
Wow. Isn't that what every government says around everywhere in the world? Okay, Samuel George, thank you for being part of this conversation. Edward Amate-Tego and Kate Nkasa Dwamina, thank you very much for being part of this conversation. It was a conversation in part 2.
Yes,
the first part, I don't know what that was.
Or the second part.
Lively debate.
It did turn into a conversation.
Thank you very much, guests.
So I want to leave all of our viewers out there with a couple of hashtags that you can look at if you want to follow this. In addition to AJ Stream, there's Red Friday, Occupy Flagstaff House, TUC Demo, and Occupy Ghana. All of those have several thousands of mentions. You can follow those to learn more about this story.
Okay, so moving on to our next show, we're going to be looking at Sweden's plans to remove all mentions of race from Swedish law. Now, how do you tackle racism if the law doesn't mention race? That debate on the next AJ Stream. See you then. Thanks for watching.